Good evening, everybody. Tonight's show is going to be a little different. This is going to be tough because this was not a show I was expecting to do, thought I'd be doing. And this one is going to be a tough one because tonight we should be having, hopefully, I don't know if we are, going to be having people coming on from the asylum because the asylum lost one of, a big part of the group in Archie Mitchell. Archie was, I got to know Archie quite a bit, last probably year or so, especially through Wrestle Bash, through the Asylum Wrestling League, and all that stuff. And like I said, tonight's show will be dedicated to him. Before we go any further, let me just put this up one more time. We're going to do a 10-bell salute to honor Archie. Now is the 10-bell salute. Hold on. I want to do the second one. But yeah, like I said, we're going to be live tonight for probably like half hour or so, or however long, it is. But I do want to just post on there quickly that we are live now. So, but like I said, though, guys, this was a tough show that it's funny because I've done these before, and what was weird about doing these beforehand is, everybody, deals with this in different ways, and I can't tell somebody how to mourn, especially the fact that this was really a surprise to everybody. And like I said, if you're watching this tonight, you can leave your comments below. If you don't want to come on, if you're in the asylum group, I did post the link. If you want to join me, I did post the link in the comment section right below my post. So if you want to join in there, you definitely can. But guys, like I said, when we deal with death, we deal with it, and people deal with it in different ways. People mourn, people cry, but I wanted to kind of celebrate, because if Archie was sitting here right now, he would be yelling at us to have fun, and that's really all that this matters. And funny story, I remember with Archie, when, like I said, I had him and Andy Shiva on the show. God, it must have been 2 years. Actually, 2 years ago. And I introduced Archie, and I introduced him as Archie Miller. And I just actually happened to find that video. I'm going to repost that video later today, or later after we're off here tonight. And so yeah, I got that one. And he was very open. He welcomed me into the Asylum Wrestling League, obviously because of my connection with being friends with Billy. So I kind of got brought in, and the one thing with Archie is Archie could, he can make you laugh. He lend an ear. He would always poke fun at, especially because he lived in Jersey, and he would always poke fun at Ryan, especially once he knew that Ryan was part of this show. And yes, I'll be honest, I hadn't really spoken with Archie in the last, probably a couple of months. And Yeah, I mean, I will admit, I regret that now because he was somebody who I can message, and he would listen to what you had to say. He would literally give you the shirt off his back if he could. And I'll even go this far. I woke up. God, this is Friday morning. Woke up, got ready for work, going on Facebook, and all of a sudden I look, and I started seeing these posts that that Arch that. Well, first post I saw was David Gold, and I was like, this can't be real. This has to be a rib. I didn't want to believe it at first, and did a little bit more research, did a little bit more looking around, and started seeing the posts come out a little bit more. And I was actually I had FaceTime with the girlfriend, falling asleep the whole yard, and she was on FaceTime still. And I, rem- I remember yelling at her in her ear at freaking 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. And I remember she looked at me and she goes, "What the hell just happened?" And I was like, "He's gone." And once I explained to her, she goes, "Oh." Fortunately, she never got a chance to meet him, but I'm lucky enough I did. I mean, I still remember with the most recent Wrestle Bash that happened last year, you know, he became a whole part of it. Because I remember the joke that I said at the time was when there was talks about doing Wrestle Bash 3, I remember looking at Ryan going, "Oh, well, we'll help because I looked at it as well. You got Archie, who's not young. I mean, the youngest one in that whole group was probably Billy, I would have to say. And no offense, Billy, I know you're probably gonna see this at some point. You're not getting younger, but like I said, you can leave your comments below. We'll definitely read them. Hopefully we'll have some people hopping in and all that stuff. Before we go further, I do want to make a mention. Around the Ropes returns live tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Myself and Ray will talk all things wrestling, but we'll get into that at the end. Right now it's time to celebrate the life of Archie Mitchell, who we lost very unexpectedly this past Friday. And like I said, who knows if we may have people hopping in who, can tell more stories of Archie, more than I can. I mean, like I said this before and I'll say this again. He is a presence that will be missed. He is a huge presence that will be missed. And I don't know, you know, hold on. I'm gonna do here. Like I said, guys, let me see. Let me see something here. Yeah, like I said, this show, whatever you want to call it tonight, is not going to be an easy one by far. And like I said, if you're in the asylum group and you do want to, leave comments below, you definitely can. If you want to uh, hop in, you definitely can. It's up to you guys. I'm not. One thing I've learned, especially dealing with death and stuff like that. Hold on, hold on. Hang on. Like I said, guys, it's a little. Hold on, Um, no, like I said, can't spell Archie Wilson. Son of a gun. Like I said, guys, this is not normal how I do the show. I mean, I'm still at a loss for words. I'm still at a major loss for words. But because the whole thing is still very surreal and very weird, a weird type of feeling. And I'm trying to see. Hold on. Like I said, I'm hopefully going to get some people to hop in here, so it's not me just talking, you know, and all that stuff. But I mean, like I said, what else can I say at this point? I mean, unfortunately, I didn't really know Archie that well, and I'm just trying to see. Like I said, he would literally give you the shirt off his back if he could. I know I'm going to be repeating myself, but this whole ordeal tonight was it was a very tough situation. It was a very tough situation, and I'm just trying to see something here because I'm trying to get at least somebody to. Let me see something here. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure. I'm really trying to do this on the fly. And like I said, this is not. This was a tough thing to do. I'll admit, this is not something that. And by the way, guys, like I said, we are live tonight, so you can leave your comments below. You know, you are allowed to leave your comments below. So, like I said, you know, death does weird things, okay, and you know, obviously it's always unexpected, and hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. Like I said, it's death does weird things to people, and it's something that you don't know what to do, you know, when it happens, and you know how to handle it. You don't know how to you don't know how to handle it, and like I said, it's the whole thing is tough. It's the whole situation is tough because it's there's different ways to handle it. And the one thing with Archie is he wouldn't want us sitting here tonight, mourning or upset or anything. He like I said, some people looked at him like a big brother, and some people looked at him, he was there for everybody. It didn't matter, what your position was. It didn't matter. I mean, like I said, it really didn't matter with him. And I always got a kick. I always got a kick when we were still in the wrestling league, and he would, and the banter that would go on with him. It was probably some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. But like even there were nights I remember when I would have be in a pissed off mood, and I would literally sit there and not want to do anything, and all of a sudden I would hop in with them and just start bullshitting for a few minutes, and Archie or Shiv or Dan or one of them would say something that I would just sit there and be like, "What the hell did you just say?" And I would start laughing. And that's probably one thing I miss most of anything is being in that wrestling league, because that was probably some of the funnest. I don't even know if that's even a word. Some of the most fun nights I've ever had. Just bullshitting, especially when it was the day that points came out, and we would sit there and we would knock Shiv, because there'd be nights where he wouldn't even get it to like Tuesday or Wednesday. I mean, granted, yeah, I never won, but there was a few weeks where I did pretty damn good, if I had to say so myself. And then even like with Wrestle Bash, I mean, I'll say this about the entire Asylum group, they all, did well. David says, "Sorry, bro, dog is having some issues, so I may not be able to hop in, able to jump on this evening, but Archie was the best. This is awesome of you." David, it's the least I can do. I'll be here in the comments. David, if you could, I don't know if you want to add everybody in the post I did, just because I think this is the best thing that can be done for Archie, where people, can kind of sit there and, and do that. I mean, like I said, because I think because of the fact of, we can't really, because of the fact that the Asylum group is all over the country and actually all over the world, technically, we can't all be in the same room. I kind of figured, and I know there was another guy in the group who did a show, and I'm not trying to top him at all. So I don't want anybody to think that, oh, I'm trying to do this to top him. No. People, us podcasters, us radio guys, whatever you want to say it, when something like this happens, we turn around and we kind of have this moment where we can sit there and, give a platform for people to come on or express their condolences or, express how they feel, if they have any funny Archie stories. David, I know if you can put in the comment section, but if you have any Archie stories, go right ahead. Yeah, David, I agree with you. He goes, yeah, Nate did a podcast. There's enough shows for Archie. Yeah, David, I completely, because the thing with Archie, people have to realize he had a presence, and he had this aura of him that you couldn't really say anything bad about the guy. I mean, let's call a spade on that one. People, I feel like, when somebody dies, I feel like, people are going to sit there and say something negative about them. But how can you really with somebody like Archie? I'll put it this way. You had to have known Archie. And you had to have, I'm going to give this a shot tonight. I want to see how this works. You had to basically have known Archie. That's probably the best way I can put it. And, a lot of people in the Asylum group, kind of did. For a lot of people, Archie was, not only the, long lost brother, but Archie was also like, the uncle who always had your back, or the, I mean, crap, go down the list. Either way, I felt like with Archie, nobody could really say anything bad about him. And he was, like I said, he had an aura, he had a presence. And I mean, granted, yeah, um, I'm, like I said, I'm probably going to keep repeating myself over and over again, but it's the only way that I can. It's the only way that I can. And, if you're watching this right now and, like I see Nick is on right now. Nick, if you want to, I don't know if Nick's listening, if Nick wants to hop in, by all means, go right ahead. This is, I'll put it this way, doing these types of shows is not easy. I said this before, I'm just going to go into this a little bit more. This is doing these types of shows is not easy at all. Because you don't know what to say. You really don't know what to say. And it's something that, I mean, obviously over time, people, like I said, the way this happened, and yes, we all know, it's the old saying, we all know death is inevitable. And we're all prepared to deal with it, but when it actually does happen, we don't know how to deal with it. And also, just want to make another mention here, tonight's show, in case you did miss in case you are not able to watch it live, this show will be on our streaming platforms as well. iHeart, TuneIn, Apple, so you'll be able to listen to it as well. But like I said, guys, if you're watching us live right now, definitely leave your comments below. We'll read them. I know I put it in the initial post a couple of hours ago, where if in case you want to join, you're more than welcome to. And just tonight was more just to kind of give Archie, this platform here. I mean, like I said, Archie was a former guest on the show. Him and Shiv came on, and to sit here and say that Archie meant that much, and it's kind of a nice thing when people, it's kind of one of those things of, it's one of those things where, yes, that is a perfect way to say it. I want to. I don't want to say this, but I guarantee. Not that I can guarantee, because you don't want to guarantee anything. Oh, that's actually cool how that works. But there's nothing you can say bad about the guy. He was, there was, like I said, there's nothing bad to say about him. And, like I said, guys, I know we're doing this tonight, but, we're all going to be live also tomorrow night. So in case you, want to leave your comments tomorrow night, by all means, go right ahead. And, like I said, if anybody has any good Archie stories, by all means, either leave them in the comment section or, hop in, and we can definitely get you on here if you like. And also, I know some people are, don't want to be on camera per se. You do not have to be on camera for this. You can literally hop in, stay off camera, and say what you want to say. I'm not restricting anybody tonight. I am not, telling anybody, oh, you can't say it. No. I want people to express themselves tonight, because like I said, nobody saw this coming. Let me put it that way. I know, at certain points, we get to that point where we sit there and we say, oh, we kind of saw that coming. Not with Archie. You kind of didn't expect this to happen. And it is. Thank you, David. But like I said, this is for you guys to kind of, say how you feel about him and, you know, all that stuff. And like I said, I am not telling anybody, oh, like I said, oh, you can't say that, you can't do that. No. I am trying to give everybody their chance here, so to speak, and kind of give everybody, their opportunity to say something. I mean, like I said, I even remember WrestleBash last year, and Archie would always come by because we did have a table. Actually, we had a table at both WrestleBash 1 and 2. And what happened was, both, and well, not so much with the first year, more with the second year. But I remember the second year specifically because I remember he kept coming up to us not every time, every 5 minutes, but he came up to myself and Ryan quite a bit. And yes, David says, yes, we are so glad Archie was able to come to Bash 2. David, just to, throw it out there, I think what I'm about to say, I think a lot of people would feel this way. I think if you guys were to do WrestleBash 3 next summer and you do it in honor of Archie, I don't think anybody would have an issue with that. I know it's tough because of, planning everything and, but I think if you guys do another WrestleBash and, call it WrestleBash 3 in honor of Archie, I don't think anybody would have an issue with that at all. But, Sean, I think so. David, what? God, this sounds so mean. Why don't you get Jim Molyneux, the ECW ref, who kind of looks like the doppelganger for Archie? I think we can make that. I think we could easily make that work. Getting somebody to cosplay as Archie. I don't see that being a problem at all. I really don't. But Jack. Oh, now the phone's ringing. Great. Jack, who's actually going to be a guest on our show tomorrow night, said didn't know him, but I'm sending my prayers for his family. Jack, thank you. I'm looking forward to having you on the show tomorrow. To talk about Wrestling Against Cancer and Northwest Florida wrestling as well. So definitely stay tuned for that. That's going to be tomorrow night. But Jack, I'm glad you're able to hop in here tonight. But no, like I said, as far as with Archie, he was. I'm going to put it this way. You see so much negativity right now in pro wrestling, especially when it comes to fans. And you see so many. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. This belief that, some wrestling fans, act weird for or whatever reason. You can't really say that about Archie. Archie, like I said before, Archie had a presence about him, and he had an aura about him, and he had this feeling that, he would basically listen to everybody. It was almost like you had free therapy with him. But like I said, I regret not reaching out to him in the last couple of months, especially now knowing that he is gone and knowing that, you know, there's now this big hole to fill in the asylum. But to be honest, and this could sound, I don't think that hole's ever going to get filled because honestly, even though Archie may not be here physically, spiritually and emotionally, he'll always be here. Archie's presence, I feel like, will never go away. And he will, you know, he will continue to be there. You know, if the asylum ever had a Hall of Fame, or even if they do, I think you need to put Archie in it. Yeah, yeah, David, you are right. David just said he is watching now. Yes, he is. And I mean, like I said, I do apologize. Normally, I'm a lot more talkative tonight, but this was a tough thing to do. But I felt like it had to be done. I felt like it had to be done. But guys, I'm not wrapping things up. Like I said, you guys have any stories? Also, I'm gonna see if I can do something here. Hang on one. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Let me see something here. All right. If you're watching right now and you go to the comments section, hang on one second here. If you guys go to the comment section below, I just posted the link for people to share and for people if they want to hop in here. If you want to actually tell a story, you're more than welcome to. Let me see here. David says, funny story was when we did a Jim Duggan virtual and you can hear Archie open. Yeah. Yeah. Why does that not shock me about Archie? That does not shock me at all. And Sean says, I never did that before. That was the first time I ever did that. Hashtag thank you, Archie. Yep. And David said, Gore, come tell Archie a WrestleMania story. Like I said, guys, the link is in here. I'm actually going to start it. So hopefully that helps, as far as getting it. Because like I said, guys, this is to give Archie his sort of moment here. And like I said, I know there's going to be people who who are not going to be able to be here live. But like I said, you can catch this whenever you can. It'll be available. You can, if you're going let's say you're at work tomorrow and you want to listen to the replay, but you can't watch the video and you want to listen to it, it'll be up on all of our streaming platforms as well. Like I said, Apple, Spotify, you name it, it'll be there. Just search the All New ATR Network. It'll be the most recent one. And the cover photo that you're going to see for the podcast side of things is the hold on. Gotcha. But no, like I said, it will be up on there as what it'll be up there. It'll be up on there. And David, what I'll do is I will send you. David, I'll send you a link for the podcast side. So then, if you guys want, what the, if you guys want, then you can share it, in the asylum group as well. And guys, like I said, if you're just trickling in now, tonight's show is in memory of what did he? We doing a watch more? Absolutely, David. I would love to. I would absolutely love to do that. But yeah, like I said, doing these types of shows, I said this before, I'm gonna just keep reiterating this again. It's not easy. And nobody, came to me. I figured having this platform, let's give Archie, but I wanted to, like I said, I didn't want this to become, a somber occasion or anything like that. I wanted this to be a, happy, if you had stories, like I said, you're more than welcome to join. If you don't want to join, on screen with me, you can leave them in the comment section below. And, I'm glad we're getting all these new people watching. And I'm glad, everybody is watching, either live or replay later on. But this is, I keep reiterating this, the toughness of this. And, and if you guys listen, to the regular show, Around the Ropes, you guys know I'm very talkative, and I'm very, I shut up. I don't know how to shut up half the time. But for this, I'm really like at a loss for words here. And normally I wouldn't be sitting here so many times going, but I'm really kind of doing this, like, I hate to say this, I'm kind of doing this whole thing on the fly right now. And David says, yes, thanks for everybody who was watching. Yes, absolutely. Sean, yes, I did hear, but we're going to address that tomorrow night on Around the Ropes. Which, by the way, if you're watching this right now and you don't know who I am, obviously, oh wait, my name's not even on the screen anymore. Oh. Hold on. Matt says, I can't join the stream yard, but I met Archie at Mania in New York, New Jersey, and we hung out a lot that weekend, and we went to the bar one night. We ended up walking back like close to a mile, and he had to pee. Dude just dropped his pants and underwear to his ankles and started peeing on a tree. Wow. Danny says, Archie Mitchell was the best. I love his sense of humor. Always had me laughing. He was a great guy and a great friend. He will be missed. Yes, Danny, I completely agree on that. But no, like I said, hopefully we'll have some more people commenting as well. And, just hearing these stories just really, puts into a better perspective. Yeah, David, I know who you meant. I was about to say Richie who. But I totally get what you're saying on it, and it is, David. It's all good. It's like I said, it's a tough situation. Hold on. Hang on 1 second. All right, there we go. That's the last one I'm going to try. But like I said, um, I mean, what else can I? I mean, exactly. What else can I even say at this point? That's the sad part. And David chimes in here and goes, "Oh, hold on." Danny says, "I used to love his mystery prizes. That did suck. The title alone was funny." Just gonna go back here for a second. David said, "Yeah, it was unexpected and surprised at all of us not ready." Oh, yeah, another comment here coming. Nothing but good things to say about Archie. I want a custom honky tonk man Hasbro that he painted. It's now something I will treasure forever. Rest in peace, big man. Absolutely, guys. Definitely keep the comments coming in. We'll be here. Like I said, we'll be here for a while because this is your guys' opportunity. I think it's the best way I can phrase this. That you guys have the opportunity to kind of express how you feel. I mean, like David said before, none of us saw this coming, and like I said, you don't go through life having any regrets. And I think my biggest regret right now is not being able, not have, that I didn't really talk to him that much. Yeah, exactly, David. That's a perfect way to put it. Guys, if you can tag and share, definitely want to get this out to as many people as we can tonight. But no, like I said though, I know, I hadn't really been a part of the fantasy league for a while because unfortunately I had some financial issues that came into play the whole 9 yards. So I had to take a step back from that. And you don't, and probably the biggest thing I wish I could say to him is, Archie, look at how many people are here tonight. People like Danny, people like Matthew, people like David, Dwayne, trying to see if anybody else commented, Sean, and, people who are watching us who may not have commented, this is how much you meant to everybody. And this was, you know, you really, I mean, you're now up there hanging out with Hulk Hogan, and how dude, Archie gets to now have front row seat to the greatest Royal Rumble ever, and Danny says it's crazy to think that Archie isn't here, but I know he's in a better place with his son. He would have loved that he'd be remembered this way. Archie deserves this. Thank you for it, Danny. Honestly, it's my pleasure. I because I have this platform and I did have this friendship with Archie, I kind of figured, like, you know what, I got to do something. And obviously, this is the only thing I can think of is doing something that I feel. And again, this might be me having a slight ego issue. I don't care, but this is where I thrive. This is being on here with you guys right now with Danny, David, Dwayne, Matthew, everybody who's watching this right now. This is my wheelhouse. Is coming on here whatever night during the week, hitting that go live button, make sure this camera is all the way up, and just talking about pro wrestling, talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. And obviously tonight it's about Archie. So, Danny, it's my pleasure doing this, and I would have done this, you know. How else could you commemorate the big man? Seriously, how else can you commemorate the big man? And guys, like I said, this whole thing is a situation none of us thought we'd be in. None of us thought that this would be what we'd be doing on a Monday night. Obviously, I know a lot of us would rather be sitting here watching Monday Night Raw. But unfortunately, that's not the case. As obviously, with what happened. And guys, keep the stories coming in, keep the comments coming in. We'll be here for probably the next, like 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so. And, all that stuff. And like I said, guys, I'm normally better with words. Jamie commented down here saying, I didn't know him personally, but I've had several interactions with him over the years, and he's always cool to deal with and talk to. It was pretty cool to talk to another guy that was wow. Again, only in pro wrestling do you hear soap operas being mentioned. Because how often do we hear about Days of Our Lives and we hear about General Hospital? Daddy says, you're welcome, David. I really love the guys who run the asylum. You guys are all rock stars. Archie was part of that. He deserved to be remembered in the best way. And there's really, like I said, and we've been saying this for a while tonight. People are going to react however they are to Archie. People are going to react. And again, there's no, and this is the big thing I always want to, let people know. There's no right way or wrong way to mourn somebody's passing. It's however you feel is the best way. And it's a very tough situation. The whole situation is very tough, and it's a very, I wouldn't even say, I'm going to be honest here right now. It's a crappy situation because you know what? You don't like to talk, you don't want to talk about somebody who, a lot of us were talking to last week. And yes, I know I said before, yes, I have not, I'll be honest, I had not spoken to Archie for a couple months. But I actually wanted to reach out to him, and I didn't get a chance to, and that's that I'm going to have to live with now, that I'm never going to have that opportunity to have that conversation with him. And it's something that I'm going to have to live with, unfortunately. I hate to say it. And it's something that, I mean, look at it this way, though. Archie right now is up there having conversations with the likes of Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, David, I guess that's the best way to put it. I am. I'll leave that towards the end. But think about it this way, though. He's up there right now having conversations with Ozzy, conversations with Captain Lou Albano, the British Bulldogs. I mean, go down the list. The Honky Tonk Man. David should just call his name and he'll be there. Danny says, don't beat yourself up. He was going through so much with his son. He needed time. Yeah, no, Danny, I agree with you on it. I completely agree with you on that. And Tyler says, Archie was one hell of a brother. Yes, exactly. I definitely agree with you on that. And like I said, guys, this whole situation was the whole situation was tough. I'll put it that way. But guys, definitely keep the comments coming in, keep the conversation going, and I just want to see about sharing it out one more time. Okay, can't do that, right? Give me a second here. Trying to maneuver this. Let me see something here. God. Wow. Yeah, guys, like I said, definitely give stories here. Guys, the whole reasoning for this tonight and the whole thing about this is, except knowing Archie, and David, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this. If Archie was sitting here right now, he would be looking at us going, what the hell are we doing? And he would tell us, go collect the figures, go collect all that stuff. It's actually funny. I actually did a couple months ago, actually got my first wrestling figure. I mean, yes, granted, I had the old, I don't know how to describe them, but obviously you guys know the indie wrestler, former WWE superstar Zack Ryder, now known as Matt Cardona, and he has his own action line. I got that. That was actually my first one. The funny thing is I also recently just won. One of the things that I've always said is I've always made the joke that why do I need to get a wrestling belt when the only belt I need is the one that hold my pants up? I've had that joke for years. I know that's a bad joke, but the one belt I've always said that I've always wanted was the IC title belt, the white IC title belt. I've always, if I had to put probably, one of just the look of it and the feel of it, to me, it's that IC belt by far. And I'm not talking about the IC belt that we have now in WWE. I'm talking about the old white one. And we were at a watch along party, actually for SummerSlam, actually. And I actually won a kid's belt of the new IC title. But yes, David, that original IC title belt was something. And the one thing I've always said is I've seen how expensive they are, and that's why I think I've always been discouraged to not get it, is because I've seen you had to pretty much lay down a couple of $100 to get one. And that's probably the biggest thing on my list right now, is to get the original IC title. Not a replica of one, an actual one, or as close to as I can. Let me put it that way. But no, it was definitely. But no, I bring it up obviously because the asylum, with all that stuff. Guys, definitely go check out the asylum on Facebook and everything else. It. There are a lot of great guys there, from Nick, David, Rocky. They're really a great group of guys, and it's nice when you have positivity in the crazy pro wrestling stuff, and you got that with that. But I'm gonna stay on here for a few more minutes just in case anybody has other stories they want to mention, and then in probably about a minute or two, I'm gonna start wrapping things up. But no, I want to give David a huge thank you for allowing me. Yeah, exactly, David. That's probably the best way to put it. He goes, just remember to tell everybody you appreciate and love them. Yeah, and also, you know, you have to. And I think the other thing I'll also just add, and then I'll get into my final thoughts here in a second. You can't take life for granted, because as we see, we see it. We saw it with Archie. 1 minute you're here, the next minute you're gone. So, Archie, if I know, you have a front row seat to all of us down here, but I think the best way I can wrap up this whole thing. And guys, even though I'm wrapping up the show for tonight, keep the comments coming. We're gonna have on our Facebook page. Again, guys, search Around the Ropes Radio Show on Facebook. Um, we're gonna have an Archie Mitchell thread of people who are able to post, what they want, about Archie and everything. But Archie, I know you're up there. I know you can hear me. I miss you. I wish you were still here. Your presence, your aura, everything about you, my friend, can never be duplicated or repeated. And I know I was one of the newbies when it came to the Wrestling Fantasy League, but you welcomed me in with open arms, you and everybody else. But on days when I had issues or I need to blow off steam, I can call you and I can talk to you, and it wasn't about pro wrestling. And like I said, I'm gonna miss you, my friend. I want to thank David, Nick, and everybody else for kind of welcoming me into this crazy world of, the Asylum wrestling stuff. It means a lot, especially knowing, everything that I've been through, to kind of, have this community of people is incredible. So I want to thank you. Also want to thank, obviously, like I said, there's a laundry list of people to thank. Dan Gleason, Ronell, go down the list. But guys, like I said, Archie, not hopefully, because we know you can, continue to watch over us. We know you'll have a front row seat to every PLE, every pay-per-view for AEW, and all that stuff, my friend. And again, I want to thank everybody who watched tonight as we commemorated tonight's show. To a good friend of ours, and I'm going to do one more 10 bell salute before we wrap things up for tonight. So again, guys, another 10 bell salute for our friend Archie Mitchell. And guys, again, David, it was my pleasure. And guys, like I said, definitely go check out the Asylum on Facebook. Go check out the stuff they have. They do have some great stuff. To everybody who watched tonight, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It meant a lot. But I think it also shows you, and it showed everybody out there, what type of person Archie was. Again, guys, I appreciate everybody who watched us. Catch us live tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, for Around the Ropes radio show, where we will be talking all things wrestling, including carrying cross and that situation. What else? The ESPN move for WWE, UFC move to Paramount, and all that stuff. We'll have two phenomenal guests. Guys, you don't want to miss it. Again, guys, if you missed tonight's episode, catch the replay on our YouTube page. Again, it's under the all-new ATR Network. Go to our Facebook page, Around the Ropes Podcast, Around the Ropes Radio Show. Sorry, I keep thinking it's a podcast. If you can't watch the show but you want to listen, go to Apple, go to Spotify, go to iHeart, go to TuneIn, and it'll be there. So definitely go check it out. Also, we do have a Pro Wrestling Tee store as well, so definitely go check that out as well. And again, guys, like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank everybody who watched the show tonight. Again, guys, if you missed tonight's show for whatever reason, catch the replay later on, or catch the audio replay of it, which will be uploaded and up by tomorrow. Again, guys, thank you for watching tonight. We'll see you guys here tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, for the Around the Ropes radio show. But until then, good night. And again, to the big man up there, we miss you, Archie. And we'll see you on the other side, my friend. Good night, everybody.